Welcome back to another episode of Uploaded and Unfiltered, the podcast in which I, your host Jermaine, interviews another content creator in regards to their journey thus far. As always, I started this podcast because I thought it was very important for other Black creators to hear from other Black creators in regards to how they made it in the industry, or maybe some of the struggles that they are seeing themselves, not only to see, hey, you're not the only one doing it, but it is possible to overcome those struggles and do the things that you love in life. Yesterday, I had the privilege, I can't say that word. I had the honor of turning 42. Not only that, my mom and dad were here in North Carolina visiting, seeing a new house. And it's been about, I want to say like 20 plus years since I've spent my birthday with my parents. And also, it was the first year that I was very present and in the moment on my birthday. And I got to tell you, it was amazing. Just being here, being able to like show off to my parents the man that I have become, the persons they grew up seeing as a little child, and I'm a full grown man with my own family, my own house, my own set of rules, problems, lows, and all that amazing things. Like being able to share that moment with my parents was awesome, and I'm eternally grateful for it. And it got me on this path of thinking for the podcast. I definitely have 2 podcasts in the chamber. Shout out to those guests who were able to do an episode with me. I promise you it's coming soon. But for this episode, I wanted to share a few things that have led me to the mindset that I am in now. And that is, I am eternally grateful for everything that I have in my life. I feel no sense of stress. I feel no sense of impending danger. There is a ton of things that are happening in this world that could jeopardize my happiness. They could put me in a bad mood. But because of these 5 things that I'm going to go over, I am happy, I'm calm, and I'm present. And I got to tell you, this is a far different version of me than maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Like my entire life, I've understood certain things about the world, certain things about how we interact with this world, certain things about perspective, but I never had the words to tell somebody else how I move through this world and how it makes me so happy. So without any cuts, I'm about to give you my 5 life lessons that, that I've garnered at the age of 42, and hopefully you get something out of it that is useful. And if not, pass it to somebody who could get some information from it. So the number one thing, and this list was only supposed to be one thing, but as you sit down and start working, sometimes more things come up. But the number one thing that I wrote on my piece of paper in my journal, if you will, is that your mind's processing is everything. The way that our mind processes information shapes our reality. Your mind creates your reality. I know you heard that millions of times, and you might have just brushed it off as like, oh, this is those crazy people talking. But if you think about it, the way that our mind processes data shapes our reality. And okay, for an example, when I was younger, I did not get on the first basketball team that I went out for. I faced rejection. Now, this didn't happen to me as a child, but it's a perfect example. When something happens to you, the way that you react, the way that your mind processes that event will determine how you feel about it. So if you just got rejected, maybe inside your brain, you're telling yourself, oh, I'm not good enough. That's not true. That's your mind decided to process that data as the results of you not getting what you wanted equals you're not good enough. And I got to tell you, that happens to a lot of people in this world. And it is not, it's normal. I'll say that, but it's not helpful. It is not going to give you the energy that you need to push forward and make the things that you want. Something being normal doesn't make it a good thing. But to go back to that rejection, you have no idea why that person rejected you. And so instead of letting your mind go on autopilot and process it, this is where the creative side of our journey comes in. And we can change that to, okay, that process, that reason I got rejected has something to do with somebody else, not necessarily me. That doesn't mean that I'm not a good person or I'm not good enough because I didn't get in. I have no idea what that person was thinking of when they were deciding to bring me on or not. So changing the processing, changing how our mind processes every event that happens makes rejection less painful and more freeing. It gives it a reason because it has nothing to do with you. And honestly, that's the way it is. It has nothing to do with you 95% of the time. So why make it about you? So again, the way that we process data, the way that we process the things that happen in our life, I either treat things as a neutral event or a positive event. Either you're helping me move forward and I did something that I wanted to positive, or I made a mishap and I'm learning from my mistakes and I'm taking that data, still moving forward, neutral. I promise you, if you can wrap your head around that, you will be eternally more happy in this life. So next up, the second thing that I have implemented in my life, or thing that I've been thinking about that has led to my happiness and my calm state of mind, is letting go of stuck beliefs. Many people, a lot of people believe that they need certain conditions to be happy, either motivation, validation, or a resolution of the past. Like they needed to fix something that happened in the past that doesn't exist. It's only in our mind. These things I call roadblocks. If you think that you need to be validated by somebody else outside of you to make content, that's a roadblock. You're setting yourself up for failure. If you think you need motivation in order to be happy, again, that's a roadblock. That is a stuck belief. There is no reason for us to believe that. There are things that I had to let go of that I didn't realize I was doing until I sat down and analyzed the way that I think, the reasons why I do what I do. There was something like, I can't be happy until blank happens. Like that has kept me in a stuck position for so long, and being able to just free myself of that and realizing that happiness happens at any moment. It's in the present. It's happening now. I'm happy right now. But when you stop waiting for that perfect condition, when you stop saying, oh, I'll be happy when this happens, all of a sudden you become happy because your brain's not waiting for that time to happen to allow yourself to be happy. Does that make sense? I know it does. We do some crazy shit as human beings, and one of them is putting these verbal mental blocks on ourselves that we don't even realize it, because it's so normal for us to talk shit about ourselves in society, or to hear other people talk shit about us in society, that we start to internalize that consciously and unconsciously. So stop talking shit to yourself. Let the world is dying to talk shit to you. Let them talk shit. Let them put the roadblocks up for you. You talk into existence what you want. You want to be happy now? I am happy now. I am grateful for the amazing things that I have in my life. And I cannot wait to accomplish the even more amazing things that I have planned for the future. I used to think that I needed external motivation to succeed. But then I realized that if something appealed to me, if something seemed possible, then I just acted. I just moved towards it. The podcast. Creating a podcast seemed appealing to me, and it seemed possible. And guess what? We're 70, 80 weeks deep. I just did it. There's no magic in motivation. It's all about how the mind frames possibility. If your brain thinks it's possible, guess what? It's going to be that much easier for you to achieve it. Dropping science here. Oh, y'all, I'm dropping knowledge. I'm preaching I hope y'all are listening, because if you want to get into a state of just happiness and not needing motivation to move forward with the things that you want to do in life, you better be writing notes. You better be listening to this multiple times. Next up, and one of my favorites, is intentional thinking over reactive thinking. I'll say that again. Intentional thinking. Intention is like the bread and butter of life to get what you want. We are, as a society, no longer intentional about most of the things that we do. We are very reactive. You know what I'm talking about. Introspection often feels productive, but that shit can be a trap. Instead of analyzing why you feel stuck, you can focus on what needs to shift. Does that make sense? For example, when I first started creating content, I used to overthink a lot. Why do I procrastinate? Or why do I feel like an imposter? But that wasn't helping me. Instead, I began to ask, I started to think, what's one thing that I can change, that I can do right now? That shift from why to what made all the difference. Changing things to what can I do right now, instead of asking yourself why. Why is a endless loop of imagination answers. And I'll say that again. If you ask a child why, or you ask me why, I can give you a million answers until you tell me to stop. But if you ask, what can I do right now? It narrows down the possibilities, because there's only so many things that you honestly can do in the given time that you have. And that takes the funnel that your brain is looking at, and it just zeroes in on possibilities, what's possible. And your mind, again, loves that. So try asking yourself what you should be doing next, and keep it present. Don't be trying to do shit that's like 4 years in the future, because you can't do that. It's not a possibility, and you're only giving yourself crazy dreams, because your brain loves things that are possible. Next up, we have I didn't know exactly what to call this one, but basically letting go of emotional baggage, or not allowing emotional baggage to put itself on you. So let's say you failed a project at work. Emotional baggage would be you reflecting on yourself, what kind of person you are because of this project that failed at work. What? But let me be honest. So the reason why I am where I am today is I definitely didn't realize at the time, but I put a lot of stake and meaning behind the career that I had in life. Because I don't know if you realize that anytime you go anywhere, one of the first questions strangers ask you if you're like in a social situation is, what do you do for work? Where do you work at? Because we've been programmed to believe what we do for work or where we work at equates to the value we have as people. And I can't tell you enough that is bullshit. That has no basis in truth. It doesn't matter where the fuck you work. You are a human, and your value does not come from the shit that you do for 9 to 5. I didn't realize that at the time, so I was busting my ass at the place that I worked at. I came in as lead. I became manager, and when I got to manager position, I looked up and saw how many more places I had to go. And essentially, and here's where the emotional baggage came in. I had this idea. I was like, you know what? Every time I was confident in my skill set. And the idea I had in mind was to move to Charlotte, which I did anyways. Fuck you, old job. But to move to Charlotte and manage the team here while also managing the team in Florida. And it was, we talked on remote sessions all the time. I'm a child of the internet. Discord and Slack, that's my two best friends. Like, I do the internet. I know how to manage people over the internet, all that fun shit. But the director at the time shut that shit down. And I got to tell you, this number 4, like not allowing emotional baggage to sit on you, her telling me, no, I don't think you're good enough. At the time, is because I put her high on a pedestal. Like, she was doing some things in the department that I did not think were going to happen ever in my life while I was there, but it were happening, and it were things that I was excited about. And I was like, yeah, she gets it. But so for her to tell me, nah, motherfucker, you were not good enough for that, like, destroyed my ego, destroyed my sense of self, because I had wrapped so much of me in that job, because I was fucking good at it. I'm still good at it. Like, IT, computers, like, one and the same, motherfucker. Like, we do this. So for somebody to tell me, nah, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, when the entirety of my life, like, I knew, That was the one time like that somebody else's opinion fully pulled me out of my mental and just had me sitting there looking at my tall stature as if I was a child and just looking like, bitch, you don't know nothing. Fucked me up. I'm better now, and I'm glad for that experience because it taught me, here's the reality of it. She was not that talented at her job, but regardless, it doesn't matter what she said. It all depends on what I think about myself. If I put too much stake in what other people think about me, this is exactly what's going to happen. And from that life lesson, I promise you that shit ain't happening again. I don't give a fuck what nobody thinks about me as long as what I think about me is reality. And if you rock with me, then you will see that reality. And if you don't rock with me, you're going to come up with a different opinion. And I don't got time for that shit. Your opinion about me does not affect me in the least bit. And it took a while for me to get here. And I cannot wait to teach other people to get here, because when you have this superpower of acting authentically and making content that you love because you love it and you don't give a fuck what any naysayer says or anybody giving you bad feedback, like bad feedback in the purpose to hurt your feelings, not to be like, not to give feedback, not to help you on your journey, but to try to cripple your journey. Fuck that. You don't have to worry about that shit anymore. And that falls nicely into my next and last subject matter, is practicing self-love and understanding the power of clarity. Self-love isn't about fluff or affirmations, any of that bullshit. It's about seeing yourself clearly and releasing unnecessary guilt or shame. If you're not doing anything in this world to actively hurt or harm people, you should never feel guilty or shame about anything that you do. Quick side note, you come to my house and I'm done hanging out. Like if you're staying over my house, and unfortunately my parents like this, and I think because they know me, it is what it is. But when I'm done hanging out, I'm gone. Like I don't give a fuck that you came over 4 hours and you're like, if you need something to do, let me know. But I don't feel any guilt or shame in knowing that, hey, I'm done here. And you can ask my friends, like when I'm done in a situation or I'm done hanging out, 9 times out of 10, I just bounce. Sometimes I say, bye, yo, I'm out. I'll tell you later. No, one more. Nah, fuck that. Although Marvel Rivals has. Anyways, getting rid of guilt or shame, and again, not acting maliciously towards people, it just frees up that energy so you can use that energy to bless somebody else or work on your craft or anything. Like I used to think I had to beat myself up to grow. I thought I need to like go through a bunch of bullshit, but compassion as a teacher, as a student, as a manager, as a father, as a husband, compassion is what helped me do my best work. You know what I'm saying? Self-love isn't about like thinking that you're better than somebody or pampering yourself. It's about respecting your own effort and valuing your time. If everybody had self-love, you would be in control of you worrying about your effort and your time, then we will all get along. I feel like if everybody was worrying about, but when it's crazy. I hope that makes sense. But again, being clear, seeking clarity when I'm talking to my wife. If there's something that she says that I don't understand, I get that clarification instead of trying to go off of, okay, I guess she meant this. No. Or if I can see that she doesn't understand something that I said, I explain. So yeah, those are my 5 things that I have come to learn at the ripe age of 42. I'm sure there's more things that I need to learn. And there are a lot of skills that I cannot wait to harness. But so far, so good. But I want to leave you with this. If there's anything that I learned, it's that happiness and success aren't about what happens to you. They're about what you do with what happened. So again, things don't happen to you. Things happen. And then the way that you decide to let your mind process that information, process life, that's when things are going to change. I'll say it again slowly. Happiness doesn't come from the way that life does things to you or how life happens to you. Happiness is about what you do with what happens. How you interact with what happens in the world will determine your happiness level. So, as always, if you haven't already, go ahead and like the show, share this with a friend, and leave me a review. And here's a reflection question for you to either DM it to me, you can send it into the podcast, you can call me. You don't have my phone number, but if you see me in real life, have this ready for your answer. What's one belief or habit you've let go of recently that made your life better? Again, what's one belief or habit you've let go of recently that made your life better? And whatever that is, let me tell you that your future self is thanking you for making that change. So, with that, I appreciate you as always. Thank you for listening. I'm going to go ahead and end this. Is there any edits in this podcast? I don't know, but I really want to play motherfucking Marvel Rivals with the homies. So I'm going to make a thumbnail, make a little title, and throw this thing up. Next week, we will have a guest. I promise you, maybe even the week after that. Anyways, thank you again for listening. And as always, protect your mental, keep creating content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.